This is WWE superstar Drew McIntyre, and you're listening to the WWE Podcast.
The champ is
the one that everybody wants, me.
It's going to WrestleMania. Claymore! Austin 316 says I just whipped your ass.
This is my iron. You're going to acknowledge me.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, hello, whatever time it is with you and wherever you are. Thank you for downloading this SmackDown review as part of the WWE podcast. As always, it's an absolute pleasure to have you listening along once again. I'm Amanda, your host of the SmackDown review. And first off, really quickly, let's talk about the anniversary episode of Raw. I don't know what you guys thought, but geez, I thought it was an absolute bust. Honestly, just a load of crap. The IC belt is back on Becky, and I guess that is to set up for AJ Lee at Mania. But we didn't see AJ Lee at Raw, which was the first disappointment. Punk holds on to his title, thank God. Rhea and Io defeat the Kabuki Warriors to take the gold again, which is great. We got no Jericho, and the whole thing was decidedly meh. Let's get to SmackDown, which I have watched live tonight as it was from Berlin, and it was on the air at 7 p.m. in the UK tonight, so hurrah. We kick off tonight and we get Drew wandering around outside in the snow of Berlin, and Cody more sensibly on the inside. Interestingly, Cody got massive boos in the arena when he was shown on the big TV. We also have Mello. He is continuing the Open Challenge. And we've also got Julia versus Bliss for the Women's US title, which sounds interesting. So it looks like we are to have the 3 stages of hell as the main event, and it will be commercial free for the last hour. So that's good news. First out, we've got Randy, and the old decibel reader is back. And to be fair, the crowd, as always with the European audiences, sounds pretty damn fine. As you guys know, I love the passion of the European audiences, especially as recently the US crowds have been a bit quiet. We get Wade and Tess reminding us that last week Randy basically did the world a favour by shutting up The Miz with 2 RKOs. Randy says how good it feels to be back in the ring and welcomes the Berlin crowd to SmackDown. I spy a Villa shirt in the crowd. He's a long way from home. Before Randy can get any further, we get Trick Williams out. He's got more oil on him than an oil factory. Trick woohoos at the crowd, but the crowd, to be honest, don't seem that happy to see him. Trick says he wants to stop Randy. He says he's sick of the stars coming out week after week saying it's going to be their year. He says that if you haven't noticed, there is a new star and his name is Trick Williams. He says he doesn't know about Germany, but every other country in the world, they love some Trick. He says I'm 6'5", 250 pounds, and he's got 2 feet, and Randy better do the math. He tells Randy it's 2026, not 2006, and they better talk about it. Basically, everyone is baying for the RKO at this point. Randy goes on to list his achievements and says the only number that matters is 14, as that's the number of world titles that he's won. He says when he looks at Trick, he does see a star, but he isn't sure why he would come down and interrupt him, so he isn't so sure that he's got the brains. Trick tells Randy that he thinks that Randy is one of the best of all time. He says he came out to brush up against the Great One, and he says he's the only one with brains to do it. He says he's come out to Berlin to put Randy on notice that this is the year of Trick. Randy says, I don't know what they're teaching you down at NXT, but someone should have told you never to turn your back on the Viper, and if you do it again, I'm going to whip your ass. This leads to a face-off, and Trick throws the mic out of Randy's hand, and Randy lamps him a couple of times, hits his draping DDT and goes to look for the RKO, only to be attacked from behind by The Miz, who tries for the skull-crushing finale, but Randy counters and goes straight into another RKO for The Miz. Wade says that Randy is just dropping falls left, right and centre here in Berlin, which is a very cool line. This was a good opening segment, certainly crowd-pleasing for the Berlin crowd, who loved seeing Trick put in his place and Miz getting RKO'd even more. In terms of story, well, it defo seems like Randy is being lined up for a 15th title, and why not? My guess is he will have to go through both Miz and Trick before he gets his shot, maybe at Mania. But again, it's great to see Randy back, and I'm very happy he seems to be finally getting the push in the right direction that he deserves. For me though, the jury's still out on Trick. His promo wasn't great. He did seem to get lost midway though. And he said, let's talk about it every time he wanted to finish the 10th sentence. So that's going to get old real quick. As Randy is leaving the ring, we get Rey Fenix out. Not sure the crowd twigged who it was from his entrance music, but Randy gives him a high five on the way, which is nice. And do you guys remember in the Vince era when it was like none of the superstars ever let on to each other and they just sort of carried on in their lane by themselves? There was never any crossover, so it's nice to see little things like that. Anyway, we've got a match here. This is Phoenix versus Trick. Joe Tess reminds us that this one is a result of Trick interrupting Phoenix last week, and kicks off with some displays, Phoenix's agility, and he manages to get a really close cover on Trick. The Berlin crowd not liking Trick, getting booed as he chops his off to the crowd, and Trick is now in charge though, making his power count. We get a sneaky roll-up by Phoenix, almost giving him the win, and a bit of a comeback, but Trick hits a massive pop-up uppercut, almost taking Rey Fenix's head off and getting himself a 2.99999 cover. Phoenix goes up top, but Trick gets his legs up and lands a massive kick, getting Trick another 2 count. This one ends as Trick counters Phoenix. Phoenix's cover, grabbing a handful of his tights, leaving Trick to get the win, but win as a cheater. So the first cheating result of tonight. So, is it just me, or is Trick basically mellow? I mean, the way they brought him up and the way they brought him into the main roster, he had a huge ego and a Healy character, and it's pretty much a spot-on carbon copy as far as I'm seeing. So I predict he's going to follow the same route, and in about a year or 18 months, he's going to turn face, become likeable and humble, get some traction, possibly leading to a mid-card title run. Seriously, guys, think about it. Trick, mellow, Trick. We go backstage now to Julia, Kiana, and her massive handbag. Byron asks what the victory means to her. She says the title is back where it belongs. Kiana says Julia will be in charge of the whole division soon. And Julia says to Bliss that she'll make an example of her tonight. So, I guess, let's see. For me, I would love to see Bliss get the title off Julia. Do I think we will see that? Unfortunately, probably not. I just hope that this time round we get a bit more of something from Julia, because so far she doesn't match up to all the hype and she is decidedly meh. We get a recap of the ambulance match from last week and Priest win. Byron has Damien backstage and asks him what's next and also how is he feeling. He says he is hurt. 6 months he got beat down, but in the end he won the war. He says what's next is he wants to join the party and get himself a title shot. This brings Drew out of the woodwork. Damien says that he knows how dangerous Drew is, and if he wins tonight, maybe they can go again. And Damien can scramble Drew's brains again. Byron asks Drew what's on his mind tonight as he prepares, and he says that emotions are high but not his. He's talking about Cody's, as everyone was holding him back last week when he burnt the picture. He says he can't wait to see Cody's face tonight when he sees that he has the watch that Dusty had to pawn to pay for Cody's future. He says he can see Cody's future, and tonight he will finally be champion. Now, it feels like we're being set up here to expect a Drew win, but I'm not buying it, and I'm sticking with Cody retaining and taking the belt into Mania. We go backstage to Bliss, who is apparently speaking to Charlotte on the phone, telling her how terrible she sounds. She's basically letting on that she's got a cold. Bliss is saying that she didn't even know about the match until today. She says she's got to go. Nia and Lash have approached her. And Nia asks where Charlotte is. Does she have the sniffles? She says. The second it isn't all about her, she disappears. Bliss tells Lash to drop Nia before she drags her down. Take it from someone who knows, she says. So we've got Bliss versus Julia. That's up now. Do you think the talking to Flair on the phone thing and her not being there is a work, and she actually is there and will come out to help Bliss later when inevitably Nia and Lash interfere? Perhaps. Let's see. Bliss out to a massive pop. Seems it's not just me that would like to see her with a title. And this one kicks off. Wade is saying that Julia wants to make this run more impactful from the last. Well, no shit, Sherlock. It couldn't be less. She starts off this match strong, though, taking out Bliss with a huge missile drop kick and getting a 2 count. And the comms team are really pushing the angle that Charlotte isn't really sick and she's just off with the hump. Bliss making a comeback as they both end up on the outside, but Julia turns things back around in her favour and has control. Kiana James repeatedly getting digs in at Bliss every time the ref's back is turned, which is annoying. And we get another comeback from Bliss, and the crowd are absolutely loving it. She hits a wicked-looking reverse natural selection and gets herself a good long 2 count. Bliss counters the Northern Lights bomb into the sister Abigail, but once again Kiana James gets involved, and finally she gets hers from Bliss. Bliss is just about to hit Twisted Bliss, but Bloody Lash Legend comes out and interferes, allowing Julia to go ahead and hit the Northern Lights bomb and get the win. Another cheap win. We then get Nia and Lash into the ring, start to beat down on Bliss. Nia hits the Annihilator, and no one comes out to make the save. So Charlotte, not here. In my opinion, this match fell a little bit flat. There wasn't masses of booing for Nia and Lash, just kind of crickets. No one wanted to see Bliss get beat down, so we continue with this story. They haven't made a blazing start to this run, being better for Julia, who apparently needs help to retain from not 1 but 2 extra people ringside. So, in my opinion, all just a little bit crap. We go backstage where Nick is telling Jordan Grace that she's made the right choice and welcomes her to SmackDown. Once again, she's interrupted by Chelsea, who demands a rematch, she says. Jordan says she promised she won't be a diva and demand things like Chelsea, which seems to rattle Alba's cage. She faces off to her and Nick makes the match. No rematch for Chelsea yet. We then get Kit Wilson comes along and asks Nick what he's going to do about the toxic masculinity on SmackDown, and Nick bolts off to his office, and Kit tonight dressed in his nan's doily, and we continue with that stick. Really pleased to see Jordan Grace has been allocated to SmackDown and excited to see what she can do against Alba later on, so I think this is a really positive move for our programme. We stay backstage and Byron has Zack Ryder / Matt Cardona with him. He asks how it feels to be back after 5 years, and he says it feels great to be back. He says when he left, he could have done 1 of 3 things. He could have been bitter, he could have coasted off his name, what he'd made for himself so far, or he could have worked really hard to reinvent himself and get back to WWE, and that's what he did. He then runs into Cody, who gets booed from the crowd again. And Matt Cardona says he's back, but he's back for the title. And Cody says that when he's done with Drew, they can talk. Seems like everyone is out for a championship match, which is okay by me, as it leaves loads of different options open as we head to Mania. Next up now, we have got the MFTs versus the Wyatt Six. And we only get to see the entrance for the Wyatt Six. The MFTs are just there in the ring like a gang of lemons, just waiting. We've got JC Mateo, who looks like he won't be involved tonight. He's not on the apron. And we kick off with Joe Gacy and Tonga Loa. Joe Gacy on top first of all, as he manages to wipe out all of the MFTs at ringside. The crowd, interestingly, must be quite sweary tonight, as Netflix keeps dropping out the sound sporadically. Joe Gacy is still in the ring. He's been in by himself since the beginning. And the MFTs has made the comeback. Talatonga in is just smashing Joe around the ring. And at the moment, it's the MFTs just pretty much taking turns beating him down. Finally, Gacy gets the tag, and Rowan is in and cleaning up. And we finally get Rowan versus Talatonga. And it's a straight punch-up in the middle of the ring with a headbutt taking down Rowan, and then Rowan having a turn at taking down Talatonga. We then get Howdy versus Solo. Howdy doing well as he counters the spike, goes for Sister Abigail, which Solo gets away from. This one ends pretty quick as Solo distracts the Wyatt Six with the lantern, leaving Tamatonga to hit the cutthroat and get the win for his team. So what next for these two teams? Another title shot, I'm guessing, for the MFTs, and they've nicked the lantern. I mean, how are the Wyatt Six ever going to find their way up to bed now? We go backstage again. We've got the Miz leaving Nick's office looking smug as per. He bumps into Mello, and Miz tells himself that he got himself a title shot. Miz says he can barely move after the RKO by Randy, and he will get the title and be a 3-time Grand Slam champ. God, I hope not. Next up, we've got Alba, and she is fighting Jordynne Grace for her debut on the show. So fully expecting Alba to eat the pin and put over Jordynne Grace, but still looking forward to this one nevertheless. First off, though, how impressive does Jordynne Grace look? She is ripped as. She starts off super strong, smashing the living daylights out of Alba, while Chelsea is screaming her head off at ringside, which isn't irritating at all. It is, I'm lying. Jordynne Grace looks to have it sewn up with a package powerbomb, and Chelsea causes the distraction, but Grace dispatches her, gets a torture rack bomb on Alba and takes the win. Wow, I didn't have a clock on it, but it can't have been even 5 minutes long, and Grace looks phenomenal. What a talent. I am uber excited to see what happens with her. This is exactly the kind of thing that we were looking for. She's leaving and going up the ramp. We get Jade out, and she faces off to Grace. Jade tells her, "You think you did something, you think you're special, well now you're on my show and I'm that bitch." Well, I am very looking forward to seeing those two go at it, whenever that will be. But I am well and truly sick of hearing Jade just say the same thing every single week. Yes, we know you're that bitch, but honestly, what else have you got? And are you ever defending that title? Backstage now, where Byron has Sammy, and he asks him who he thinks will win the title match tonight. Sammy says there's a small part of him that wants Drew to win because he's famously the only person Sammy has never beaten. He says, obviously though, he's rooting for Cody, as he is the best champ they've had in years. He's a great guy, yada yada yada. Sammy says his money's on Cody. He says though, whoever wins, he is waiting on the other side. So that's him and pretty much the whole of the men's locker room who are in for the title. So I think we are probably going to get news of some kind of tournament or special stipulation match to determine the new number one contender for Mania. And is that where we get Jericho? Next out, we have Mello, who, thank God, is carrying on the Open Challenge, and we're going to see who he's going to face soon. Backstage, we get Nathan Fraser. He's surprise attacked by Johnny, who's wearing the mask he nicked off Axiom. Back to the ring, and Melo's opponent is Shinsuke. This should be excellent. We get a tie-up to start things off, and we are pretty even Stevens at the beginning. Melo getting the upper hand, and the crowd are absolutely loving it. Melo hits a massive leg drop and gets himself a decent 2 count. Shinno makes a comeback, demonstrating his class and ability on the mat, dominating Melo, and Shin in return gets himself a good 2 count. Shin hits a dragon screw on Melo's knee twice and looks like he is down and out. Melo, though, making a comeback, both guys down in the centre of the ring. And unfortunately, the crowd seem to have died a bit here. This has gone on for a while. We're back with Shin on the offensive. We get a corner spot. Melo is hung upside down. Shin tries to attack, but Melo manages to sit up, get out of the way. Shin gets himself another 2 count and kicks Melo so effectively that he actually does a whole 360 spin in the air, and these two are just tearing it up. Melo from nowhere hits first 48, goes up, manages to hit nothing but net, and manages to retain from literally nowhere. This was a great match. It looked for absolutely everything that Shin was going to win, but Melo gets himself even more over and retains, and the open challenge continues and stays just brilliant. Backstage again, and we get Byron asking Cody for his final thoughts. Cody says, as champion, I'm surrounded by people all the time, by the best people. He says he sees that Drew has his father's watch tonight. He says it's unnecessary to bring his father into these things and it's lazy. He says Dusty doesn't make the comeback he does. He says tonight Drew will be looking up at the lights, and then it's on to Mania. I thought this was nice from Cody. Calm, champion-like. Let's see what this main event brings. It looks like Cody is going to have the crowd against him. Before that match, though, we get Nick confirms that next week in Wembley there will be 4 qualifying matches, and the winners will face off, and the winner will become the number 1 contender and fight whoever the champion is at the Royal Rumble, which is excellent. The matches are going to be Randy versus Miz, Matt Cardona versus Trick Williams, Priest versus Solo, and Sammy versus Ilya Dragunov. I would like to see Randy, Matt Cardona, Priest and Dragunov get through to the Fatal 4-Way, and let's see Ilya Dragunov as the number 1 contender to whoever wins tonight. But Wembley is going to be pretty sick next week, I think. So to recap this tonight's main event, we've got a straight up standard match. That's followed by a Falls Count Anywhere, and then finally we'll go into a steel cage. And as we start this marathon, Cody is on fire, and Drew trying to goad him into using a steel chair, but Cody doesn't do it, and we carry on. Cody hits Cody Cutter off the top rope and gets the first close cover of the match, and Cody is running the show right now, making Drew look like an absolute mug so far. Bloody Drew from nowhere, though, gets a low blow behind the ref back, hits the Claymore and gets the first pin of these 3 matches. Another cheat win. So now we move on to Falls Count Anywhere, and with the build-up that we've had between these two, fully expecting this to be properly gnarly. Drew goes right for the the Slim Jim table, slamming Cody through it and getting a 2 count on the mats outside the ring. Cody with a bit of a comeback as they start going at it through the crowd. Cody nicks a fan's phone and takes a selfie of himself biting Drew's head, which I love. Imagine being that fan. I want to see that picture on X. And they've now brawled themselves backstage, and Cody trying to choke Drew with a banana, which is one of the weirdest things I think I've seen in pro wrestling in recent years. We then get Cody pulling a real KO or Shane O'Mac move. He goes up to the balcony, which is where all the fans are, and he onto Drew, onto the concrete, who somehow kicks out. Cody hits Crossroads on the announce desk and gets the free count on Drew. So at 1-1, we go to the steel cage match, and both guys look kind of dead. So this will be tough to watch. So off we go with the steel cage match, and in all my years watching pro wrestling, I don't think I've ever seen the steel cage come down so quickly. Usually they come down at a snail's pace, but this just flew down. So the steel cage is in place. Right away, Drew makes a run for the door to try and escape, but Cody just about stops him. Drew behaving in proper heel fashion as the one who's trying to escape, and Drew gets a close count after a superplex off the cage. A couple of near falls for Cody as he hits Crossroads and Cody Cutter. And then Cody hits another cutter off the top of the cage, which looks awesome. And somehow Drew manages to kick out, and I am starting to fear the worst here. Drew looks like he's about to escape out of the door when a black hoodie shows up. And first of all, it's like he's helping Cody by beating up Drew. Then he goes nuts and starts to beat down Cody. It's Jacob Fatu making his return, by the way. So Drew, in unremarkable fashion, exits the cage and wins the match. And is the new champion. Win for Drew, but the headline here is that Fatu is back and he seems to have new teeth. So I say let's add Fatu to the number one contender match and have him take the title off Drew. A bit gutted Drew won, I'm not going to lie, but I feel like it was coming tonight a little bit. So all in all, what did we think of tonight's show? Well, I enjoyed the men's US title match a lot. I thought that was a masterclass. Really, really good. I love the look of Jordan Grace. I think she's pretty epic. Bliss versus Julia was a very weird non-event. And the 3 stages of hell match was pretty good match. As I said, slightly gutted to see Drew win, but delighted to see Fatu back. Good to see the setup for number one contender, and looking forward to next week at Wembley. As I've said, I would love to see Ilya Dragunov get the number one contender spot. So all in all, I wonder how the Berlin crowd feel. As always, the European crowds are always noisy, and they always bring the atmosphere from start to finish. But again, it was a long show. It was 3 hours. We ended with that epic 3 Rings of Hell match, which was good. But it did feel like there was a decent amount of filler in tonight's show. So Drew's our new champion. So we have 3 heel champs on our show. So we've now got Drew, we've got Jade, and we've got Julia. And I'm much more of a face champ kind of girl. So I'm hoping that we get some changes coming up, but that's unlikely in the run-up to Mania. But hey, at least we've got an interesting number one contenders match coming up, and it looks like we're on European time for the next week or so at least, which is a bonus. So that just about does it for this week's show. Thank you for having me in your ears once again, and remember, until next time, be kind.
Thanks for listening to the WWE Podcast. Don't forget to subscribe on your favorite podcast app so you don't miss a show, or head to WWEpodcast.com. And for all of these shows ad-free, head over to patreon.com/WWE Podcast. Until then, we'll see you next time.